Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I'm also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I wanted to go over why I believe and what I think I'm seeing as a pattern in our society is that attractive men feel isolated. And I wanted to talk about the factors as to why that is. I think that this is more common now than it used to be. And so I think that's why some of the research might not necessarily reflect yet, because I feel that it's a modern issue. And a lot of the research, just in general, if we're looking at research that's really fundamental, it takes like 30 or 40 years to collect a lot of that data. And so, if this is something that I feel is very modern, 5, 10 years, I don't feel like I'm going to find reputable research yet about this. But I still think we as individuals, students, and whoever is watching, we're allowed to speculate so that we can learn. And if we want to do research in this area, this is a good place to start. I think attractive men are isolated for some of these reasons. And as I practice as a therapist, I also notice these patterns as well. And I think the very first one is probably one of the most important ones. I think that attractive men feel isolated because emotionally he is. And what do I mean by that? He's judged for his looks, both good and bad, meaning people don't actually know the real him. So if you are a person who's attractive conventionally or a lot of people just feel that you are, or in your circle, people perceive you as attractive, whatever that is for you, people are going to perceive you first with the way you look and then who you are. That's common. And if you look a certain way that a lot of people may perceive as maybe because you're attractive, they think that you're mean. Maybe they think that you're stuck up. Maybe they think that, I don't know, you don't know how to treat women because you just, treat them poorly. You have so many of them, whatever it is. And when actuality, that might not be true at all. You might be somebody who's very introverted. You might not really date much. You might be very independent. And immediately this judgment that was casted upon you is nothing to do with you. And so sometimes it's hard to know, do people like you for the way you look or also, the real person that you are? And I think a lot of people will think that this is not like a bad thing. It's really good to be perceived as someone who's good looking. But if you are a man who's good looking, you realize that it's not always that simple. You didn't choose to be attractive. I mean, I'm sure you work on your looks, you take care of yourself, but that's not something that makes you who you are. The personality you have is what carried you through your life, right? That's what happened with your childhood, the breakups you've experienced, the job you chose, whatever it may be. And your looks don't have to do with your hard work. And that means that a lot of times the real you is actually ignored to your looks, but you didn't do anything to get those looks. So it's missing a huge part of who you are. And that does feel isolated, and it's isolating. The next one that I think, I brought this up on my channel before, but it's very common and I feel like it's not talked about enough. Other men can be jealous, competitive, and vindictive towards you. This is not just a issue that ladies who are attractive deal with. Men do this too. I see it in the comment section. I just see it in real life. A lot of my patients report struggling with stuff like this. You as a man, if you're attractive, you're probably not trying to intimidate anybody. Maybe you're just talking about something completely random, has nothing to do with your looks, but people might take it a type of way, just as we discussed in the first point, because you are attractive, there's already that judgment, and now they're jealous, competitive, or vindictive towards you. So if people are more commonly jealous, vindictive, or competitive towards you, you're going to feel isolated because there's less people who like you, because your looks have made something negative in their feelings. Like they feel negative internally towards you simply because you have something that they wish they could and that they perceive that they don't. And so they're not going to be friendly with you because they feel like you are taking the spot they wish they had. And from a psychological perspective and evolutionary psychology, competitiveness comes from the fact that we as individuals, we believe that our chance of survival is best if we are able to have a collective set of traits, right? And so it's very fundamental, jealousy and competitiveness, because subconsciously these individuals feel like, okay, if there's an attractive man, let's say that's you're an attractive guy, you're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, another guy who perceives himself less attractive, he's going to think that you're taking the things that he needs to survive, whether it's women, whether it's career opportunities, whether it's friendships, whether it's confidence, because you're confident now he can't be confident because he feels like he has no right to feel confident in comparison to you. And so a lot of the things that he feels is fundamental and vital for his lifestyle and who he is, he feels like you're taking that spot. So it's not actually, if this is happening, which it does happen, I don't try not to take it personally because it actually has nothing to do with you. You're not doing anything wrong. This will happen even if it's just a photo of you. You didn't even speak yet, right? So just keep that in mind. I know it is really challenging. It's hard to feel like it's hard because people don't trust you. Women think you're not a good guy, and then men are jealous of you. You feel very alone. And I do understand that. And that's what I want to make this video so that I can help other people who feel this way. The next one is actually what we just talked about a little bit briefly. Women assume that either you're lying when you say you're single, they assume you're a player, they assume that you're, a bad guy, they assume that maybe you're mistreating women, they assume that you have a lot of women, that you're not telling her about, and it actually makes you struggle to get certain healthy opportunities because a lot of women are, I guess, intimidated by you, possibly, but it's also that she just judges you and doesn't trust you even if you told her so many times that you're not doing anything, that you really are just staying home with your dog. You're not cheating, you're not doing anything wrong, but she might not believe you, and that negativity gets in her head so much, she might play games, which is going to create more issues in the relationship. She may break up with you because she can't handle that. She may try to get you jealous, which obviously you're not going to tolerate that. And so the relationship is really, it's hard to stabilize a relationship when someone is not seeing you for who you are. The main point, which is the first point I brought up, again, somebody made an assumption about you and you have to pay for it in isolation. The next one is actually women get angry when you're picky because you can be more picky than perhaps she can be. Now, I'm not saying that women can't be picky as well. I'm just saying what I've noticed is not all the time, but attractive people are a little bit more picky, I think. Doesn't have to be too much because too picky is like usually a defense mechanism, but a little bit more picky because they can afford to be. I know that's blunt, but it's true. If you are attractive, you have more options, and that's okay. But maybe if a lady has a little bit less options than you do and you're more picky or more selective, that might make her upset because one, she feels like she's not good enough for you. Two, she feels like she's not going to be chosen by you. And three, it makes her feel like maybe if you do pick her, at one point you might leave her if another option comes around, which I'm not saying you're that type of guy, but because you have more choices, it makes her upset because maybe she's not going to be the one that's chosen. It's the hard truth about life. People are just going to have to deal with it because I think this is just going to be something we're always going to have to deal with in society. That's just the reality. The next one is that he doesn't always know he's attractive. Now, some men do, but I think attractive women might be a little bit more aware they're attractive than attractive men, simply because men are a little bit more dominant typically socially, and so he's more direct with a lot of things. That's just, I believe that's male nature. I've noticed that. So if there's a woman who's attractive, men are going to tell her. Now, attractive men, women are not going to go up and say, hey, you're really attractive. Some might, but more often she's going to just try and get his attention indirectly, and he might not even know that's happening. So he doesn't know he's attractive. And then on top of that, a little sub point of this one, he might try and figure out if he's attractive, and then other men who, for whatever reason, maybe they don't feel attractive or they're jealous or whatever it is, they're going to say, oh, if you were attractive, you would know. And so that's not true. It's not that simple. And then he's going to doubt himself. And so there's so much layers as to why he doesn't know he's attractive. And that makes him feel isolated because, again, he's not understood for who he is. If he is attractive by society standards, that's his right to know that. To some extent, I believe that, because it helps him to identify who he is. And if you don't get to identify who you are psychologically, you feel isolated because you feel misunderstood. And the last one, if he emphasizes something about himself physically that he's proud of, people think he's bragging, even though he's not. Let's just say he's like, oh, he's tall. Okay, tall is a really common one where people think that tall men equals attractive, which I don't really think that's true, but I'm sure it helps. I'm definitely sure it helps. I did a video on that. There's research on it. But if he's taller and he's like, oh yeah, I'm 5'10 or 5'11, I personally think that's tall, but maybe you don't. Maybe 6 foot, whatever your height is that you think is tall, okay? He's like, yeah, that's my height. And other people are like, oh, you're bragging. Why are you mentioning your height? And he probably might be mentioning it for another reason completely. He's not bragging. Maybe it's relevant to the conversation. And for whatever reason, people feel uncomfortable about that because they associate him being proud of an attribute he has or sharing it as bragging. So I think these are some of the ways that men who are attractive feel isolated. And I think isolation is affecting our society. And so I wanted to share this to at least help a little bit. And I'm going to elaborate more about how to reduce isolation in other videos, but I feel like this is an introduction. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.